yeah, but y'all down that's like, PD hoes rise, and they rise again. From the front line to leading mates and friends. Oh, this is your season, time to take a stand. Hey, HeroMakers, legends spreading across the land. It's your roof from Tassie, bouncing like a kid at a bunning sausage sizzle on a Saturday morn. Season 3's lit, laptop lifestyle dad show HeroMakers. Season is born from AI funnels to social selling grit. Now it's hero making time. Strap in, this is it, yo. I've hopped Tokyo's back streets, cop the LA glow, bringing yarns from the road, mate. Watch the wisdom flow from the kitchen bench, hustle to the big global stage. We're handing you the keys, now it's time to turn the page.
A few heroes rise, and they rise again. From the front line to leading mates and friends. Oh, this is your season, time to take a stand. HeroMakers been spreading across the land.
I'm the pumped up platypus from Sunny QA. More bounce than a kid who spotted the ice cream van. You see, two Wizzy dads, mate, bringing boom source seed. Helping legends step up, take the driver's seat. We're not just here to yab a raw, spin ya a line. We're handing you the mic so your voice can shine. From Tassie to Tokyo, Goldie to Perth. HeroMakers worldwide, lifting leaders of worth.
Jeff Rules got the coffee double shot, mate, I'm wide. They platypus at the pool party, still floating our tide. Jeff from barbecues to boardrooms, we bring the yarns and the tools. Helping legends lead strong and break all the rules. See heroes rise, then they rise again. From the front line to leading mates and friends. This is your season, time to take a stand. HeroMakers, legends spreading across the land.
Grab your brew, your notepad, and your crew. It's the laptop lifestyle dad show. HeroMakers season, bringing heroes out of you.
Patty the Roo, platypus bringing the tricks.
HeroMakers podcast, your daily boom source fix.
Heroes rise, then they rise again. Hey, from the front line to leading mates and friends. Oh, this is your season, time to take a stand.
Hey,
HeroMakers, legends spreading across the land. Heroes rise, then they rise again. From the front line to leading mates and friends. Oh, this is your season, time to take a stand. HeroMakers, legends spreading across the land.
Right. Welcome, legends. It's so good to have you here. I've got a really awesome guest here today with me, and we're just going to dive straight in. I'm really pumped up to bring you to this week's Heroes Makers interview for season 3 for the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show. Today, we're joined with Craig Whitney, who is the founder of Next Level Coaching. You know, Craig helps people unlock performance, build resilience, and tap into their inner strength to level up in business and in life. And if you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever felt overwhelmed, if you've ever felt like you're running on empty, then this episode will give you the tools to bounce back stronger than ever before. So tune in live. Yes, we are live here in the HeroMakers community right now. Drop in your questions in the comments. Let's dive into mindset, habits, and strategies that create true resilience and the next level type of performance. So, Craig, it's so awesome to have you here with us today, mate. We've been working pretty closely together now, I reckon about going on almost 2 years. But I love for our audience just to get in and understand you from your origin story. You know, what inspired you to step into the world of coaching, and what sort of is the driving force behind everything that you do?
Oh, good morning. I'm still trapped in your intro music, so I'm a little bit flowy this morning. So it's away. It's got a bit of a jig to it, a bit of a vibe for the Wednesday morning for all those going to work. Yeah. Origin story. What got me into the world of coaching was basically my own transformation, my own realization and implementation of how personal development is not just an ego-fed ego-fed role, more or less a transformation through the soul, and that can only be done through experience. I myself learned through my own experience that transformation can only come through actual experience, and I don't recommend people going through pain and suffering. However, as a man on my mission in life and as a man amongst men, we must face those adversity moments and those true adversity moments where we have a fork in the road between life and death, good and bad, light and dark, etc., etc.
Mm, yeah. So I want to get straight into this and talk about what I see as one of the things that lead to men's crisis moments, really. And I think it's a really important topic to tackle. One of the things I see, especially in our Western world, is we're caught up with some sort of form of consumerism, individualism, idolatry. You know, we're sort of stepped away from this community tribe based stuff, and our world is very much pushing men, especially, to do it themselves. This whole me myself attitude is, I believe, one of the things that bring men down, especially into this crisis moment, because we're not designed or created, whatever your beliefs are, to do life alone. You know, we really do need to do it in a tribal sort of sense, in a community sense, right? What are your thoughts around this conversation here, and what do you see that's happening?
Yes, so I absolutely agree with the rise of the 21st century and tech and everything, all the convenience, attention economy. It's come at a price, and that price is lone wolf syndrome, meaning traditionally, 500, even 1,000 years ago, men come together around the fire, and we taught each other and the younger men through story, the stories of the hunt, the
Mm,
great hunts, where the older man would take the younger men out on these hunts, these glorious hunts to feed the tribe. They go after the woolly mammoth and etc. Sometimes they come back with a bag full, other times they come back with nothing. However, there was always a story to teach the younger men from the older men.
yeah,
I believe as a community, we've lost that essence
yeah.
through the evolution of the different ages and the evolution of technology, the evolution of screens and convenience economy. And it's had its detriment on our mental health and well being. As men, we are not designed to do it alone. We are not designed to raise a family alone, let alone do life alone. We are all communal
Mm,
species.
yeah. And yeah, I love, well put, you know, and I love the fact there that we've lost the storytelling component of it all. And I believe that we can have that in today's age, especially with technology. Like, you know, you've just got to find that tribe that you belong to, or want to belong to, and go do the work to be able to participate. I feel like, you know, one of the other things that really happens is quite a beautiful thing, is when we are in that space where we've found our tribe we belong to, that we now do what we can to contribute to the greater good of the tribe. And this steps us out of that me, myself, I conversation. That steps us out of that ego driven conversation and puts us into a space where it's servant hearted leadership, it's servant hearted attitude, because it's all about the protection and the flourishing of the greater good. Now, you were, you know, one of the stories that we've always shared, you said you're raised by donkeys. I'd love to unpack that a little bit deeper as well. But, you know, it seems to me that you've had a really interesting experience and life story for polar opposite extremes of, you know, serving in tribe and community versus not. I'd love you to go a little bit deeper into that if you can.
So, well, that's the interesting perspective about me. As I was raised by a pack of wild donkeys. I'm an only child. I don't have any siblings, so I'm Mr. Independent, and that Mr. Independent is still very, very strong in my
Mm,
life today. I do things as I see fit. I don't really rely on those. I just go about my own way. Hence, in a sibling society where I was, say, raised in my foster care, that had its impact where I had to adjust to a family given environment where I had to learn things such as to share, to be around siblings. I just couldn't cut ahead and do my own thing.
mm,
And I feel for all the only childs out there. I get the frustration. Uh, we just do things by ourselves. It just comes natural to us.
yeah.
And when the donkeys come in, they were my family practically. Uh, they were the ones I'd go to out in the paddock when times of strife would happen in the house.
Mm,
When my mother would have a mental health episodes and turn, go psychotic, and and turn violent against myself or my father. And they were my grace, so to speak. And I'd go out. And they didn't do anything. They just were donkeys, humble and, humble in the paddock, just doing their thing. It's their energy that calmed me in those moments of need. And they taught me humility amongst the chaos and carnage. They taught me just to be present.
Mm.
And of course, their stubbornness and their cheekiness and their loyalty. If they didn't want to do anything, they wouldn't do it. Uh, the old saying goes is a donkey's already read you by the time he's met you. That is such a true statement.
It
He's
is.
already read your energy. And if he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you. He'll put his head down and act accordingly, in retrospect to your energy. If he
Yeah.
loves you, they'll be loyal as a dog to you. They'll walk with you.
Mm.
They are very intelligent creatures, and they have a brain of a 4-year-old child. And that's the essence of my childhood. And as I go deeper into the study of donkeys and their behaviors, we can see that, donkeys in history were the first domesticated animal of man. 3.5, was it three and
Yeah.
a half or
Yeah.
4,000 years ago, as pack animals and as companions to the tribe before the invention of the wheel. And they're still used today in some areas of the world alongside their crossbred cousins of mules and horses,
Mm.
in particular in areas in the United States where vehicles and helicopters can't get to for firefighting services and things like that. However, they're such intelligence species. They're just amazing to watch. Um, in the paddock alongside their horse cousins, where horses were bred initially as a prey animal.
Mm.
So that's why they were bred as for speed, to run at the sight of a threat, where a donkey was created to challenge the perspective. He'd run 20 meters in the event of a threat, turn around, assess the situation, have a look. If it was time to defend, they go and defend. If it was time to avert, they would avert, etc., etc. And they'd always chunk the behaviour,
Yeah.
and defend. That's why they make such great companions for farmers, for the sheep, for the cattle.
Yeah.
I've even heard of donkeys guarding chook pens for foxes,
Yeah.
because
Also,
of their
I have a donkey that used to sit in the stables with the horses there to calm them down.
yeah, they have that calming effect amongst anxious animals such as horses. Horses are very anxious
Mm.
and they're very flighty animals. They have that calming effect naturally. And they had that calming effect on me naturally as I was growing up. Mum was very passionate with her donkeys. She'd travel around to all the markets and festivals and give kids
Mhm.
of disadvantaged families that little bit of extra joy. So I've traveled every single market, fete, festival from uh, Woodford up here on the Sunshine Coast throughout to Coffs Harbour and the Banana Festival, and west of Tamworth for the country music, and Glen Innes for the Beardies Fest.
Yeah, fascinating.
Um,
Sounds like you and I had a very similar sort of childhood like horses. I did all the camp drafting. Every
mm,
weekend we were at a different camp draft with the horses. From all the way down south down to where is it? Deniliquin. And all the way as far as north as Toowoomba and everything else in between. So we did a very similar sort of childhood in that essence. Would you say that you know having this sort of experience as a child? Probably not knowing it back then, but you can probably see it a bit clearer now with your wisdom. Would you say that this is part of the start of your whole resilience journey? And learning how to be resilient?
yes, definitely, definitely. Being calm amongst the chaos is the first sign of resilience.
Mm,
Being able to step back within the storm and assess your situation. Most definitely.
mm. So let's go a bit deeper with that. How do you define resilience? It's such a big word, and I don't know if most people really understand the term or go into the character like you do. So how do you define resilience, and how do you define it in your work with your clients?
Resilience is being steadfast in the moment. It goes deeper than the cheesy quotes getting around on the internet. It's a state of mind, and
Steadfast, you
yeah,
said?
yeah. It's a state of mind, and for a body expression, it's being grounded in who you are. So solid as an oak tree, Oak trees are solid and they're deep rooted and they sway within the wind.
Mm.
That's a metaphoric example of being resilient. And they take what's coming to them. Um, they stand there and take it and not react. They'll respond.
Right. So it's a character trait.
Yeah.
And one of the things I definitely see in our world and why it's becoming so divided, it's got nothing to do with extremism and all that sort of thing. That's the result of it all. What I see is what's got to do, and doing some deep study in this, is it's a character deficiency.
Yeah.
And people have forgotten the deep seated the characteristics that we need to as a society and function in that space. So, if we've got a bit of a character deficiency and around resilience as men, what can we do to help us to build that muscle? Because I believe that characteristics can be built upon when we identify where our weaknesses are and our strengths are. My journey's been an example to that. Your journey's been an example to that. So, what can men do, especially to help us to build that resilience muscle?
What can they do? Well, the first thing is I'm very passionate on modeling.
Mm,
As old school that is look at who your models are and look at what you are modeling. As little boys, in this day and age, little boys have taken out of their natural environment to rough and tumble. We
mm,
need to bring that back into society to rough and tumble and not worry about getting hurt to an extent. Play rough house more. We see this in the animal kingdom with young foals of horses and of donkeys of the equine environment, where they roughhouse, the males roughhouse each other to gain that resilience and gain that tough exterior for the world to come ahead of them. We've developed in a society of the bubble wrapping style parenting or the helicopter.
mm.
Don't do this, don't do that. I mean, I grew up in a world where you could ride in the back of the ute and no one would say something, or you jump on the
We used
tractor
to
as a
get
little
on the
fella.
we used to get the bonnets behind the ute,
Yeah,
hang onto the
yeah.
bonnet over life life.
Yeah. Or dad would go jump in the ute as a 5-year-old. Here you go. Here's the keys, son. Go and grab the ute and get that out in the paddock and go for a drive. Or jump on the tractor. There's a big pile of logs over there that need tidying up. Put the blade on, away you go. Push them into a heap, ready to
Yeah.
put fire to it. Or we'll go catch the horse. There's a couple of dogs. Go muster some cattle. Barely 7 or 8. Um, it's things like that. And even getting bucked off a horse. I mean, getting bucked off a horse can teach you a lot about resilience. And what do you do in the moment of, as the old man would used to say, hitting the dust? What do you do? Do you have a cry, have a sook, or do you get back up and shake the dust off, have your cry, get back on the horse, and keep going?
Yeah.
I mean, Dad always taught me, have 13 busters on a horse before you even think about giving up. Um,
The old bushman used to tell me you had to learn how to fall 1,000 times before you even knew how to ride. And, I put that to the test because I put myself in some situations where I fell off some doozies
mm,
and
mm,
got bucked off. But,
mm.
I totally hear what you're saying, and this trial by fire, this failing forward fast sort of culture is what we're talking about here. And putting ourselves in a position where we learn through experience, like a kid, right? You tell them not to touch the hot stove, and sometimes they've got to touch the hot stove to realize, oh, that's hot.
Mm.
And then they go, oh, okay, through that experience, that's hot. I don't touch the hot stove. And I feel like learning itself is meant to be messy. It's meant to be a bit of chaos to go through that experience to get to the other side with the wisdom.
Exactly.
And when we do the whole bubble wrapping helicopter style, where we're protecting the children, we may be protecting them through control, but is that really protecting them? Because it's just setting them up for failure in later on in life, because they're going to go do all of that anyway and make those mistakes anyway. So we might as well do that in a safe environment when we're parenting, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly right.
I want to come back around here to this conversation because I totally agree with you on all of this. But when I grew up in a cowboy type environment, there was a statement that was basically thrown around amongst men, and that was cowboy up, harden up pretty much, but that it can also go to the other extreme where that can turn into toxic macho, sort of type behavior. So how do we go through the trial by fire? How do we go through as and men especially, where we come into a space where it's, you know, definitely making sure that we are building that tough exterior skin to take the kicks, to take the blows, without going into that male macho toxic behavior. How do we balance that out?
Well, either way, we've got to experience it one way or the other. There's no other way of teaching that and having the sting of failure. All
Mm,
right. It's not a contest where everybody gets a prize. There are winners and there are losers. Harsh reality.
yeah,
Sorry to all the mums and dads out there who love your kids, and we want your kids to win most definitely. But there's going to be moments out there where they're not going to get the trophy.
yeah.
There's
Well,
moments out
I think
there
that's
that
a form of love in itself.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think the word love has got distorted.
So getting back to your question is how do we navigate that? Again, it's teaching you how to navigate failure, how to navigate loss, how to navigate that without going down that road of toxic masculinity, which is such a cliche these days, when it comes down to behavior rather than the term itself.
Right?
Um,
That's what I wanted to address here, and I'm glad you
yeah.
brought it up.
Yeah, it's modeling. It's modeling on how to handle failure, how to learn from failure and rise through it, rise with it, not against it. You know, don't be resistant and bring out the self coddling behavior. It's taking on that lesson as itself as like, oh, that hurt. That
Mm,
really hurt.
mm.
I'm not going to do this again. All right.
But
Coming off that horse hurt.
yeah,
I'm going to hold on this time. I'm going to duck next time that horse wants to take me under that branch and not get wiped from the
yeah. Or
saddle.
when your best mate wants to throw a right hook, you know, okay, pop it the first time on the chin, but the second time you duck, and you learn. So it's that hot stove experience. I totally
Yeah.
get that. And the thing that's coming up for me here is as well is this toxic masculinity. When you really look at the, you know, that sort of culture, once again, it's another result of character deficiency. Whereas if you go back to, you know, 1920s or even back further, you know, when men feel like they were men back there, and they didn't have the softness about them, you know, that we see today. They had that, I don't know what's to call it, they had the character, you know, there. And but here's the thing that really just jumped out for me, and I want to go deeper with you here too, is the wiser men of the day, they held the younger men to accountable, responsibility, and ownership. You know, these are all things of character. So when you take that out, you've left with, you know, that toxic masculinity. You've left with male pride, male ego, without sort of anything to check it in balance.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that a little bit further for us?
Yes. Okay. So men of the early 19th century, 1920s and 1930s, they were very stoic. And it was a very tough time back then
Yeah, good
with
work.
the World War One, First World War, or the Industrial Revolution, which lens you want to spin that. Then you had the Great Depression on backed pretty much right behind World War One. And then you had the Second World War in it pretty much straight after that. So the type of man that was back then, it's perceived in the media that they were stoic. They were almost mobster-like, which is true to the aspect.
Mm.
Tough shell on the exterior. Hard men, very, very hard men. You wouldn't cry, you wouldn't dare to show emotions. Okay, this is what we call to the far extreme of the stoic masculine man. He's just an unemotional machine. And unfortunately, when we don't show our emotions, it has its detrimental effects. That can come out in behavior, which can result in toxic masculine traits itself.
Mhm.
It's like a bubble. When we push something down, we can suppress the bubble for so long. And then that bubble's going to somewhere along the line pop back up much bigger and much nastier.
Yeah, it's a good.
So if we don't learn as younger men to express our emotions in some sort of way, in in a clean way, such as learning to cry, finding an outlet to be able to express that through physical exercise, sport, martial arts, or to some degree, then that emotion's going to bottle up and eventually come out sideways to some degree, to some point, either on our loved ones, which I've experienced myself,
Yeah.
or onto those around us in the community. And I feel this is where we're at in our society today, to the far extreme of what we're seeing in the media and on the everyday aspect with byproducts of domestic violence, family violence, etc., where men don't have that structural family support behind them, or they're just replicating the wounded model or the
Mm.
wounded healer as the generations go down, and they don't have the life skills in order to navigate today. They don't have that
Yeah.
resilience or the life skills. They're still getting shamed for crying as a man. I can't believe that in today's society. Crying's a very healthy trait. It's a very expressive trait. Studies have shown crying actually relieves stress and adds years to a man's life. Funny enough, when 90% of our activities take years from us, so it's one beneficiary trait that we can honor
Mm.
and learn to utilize, because we want to be around as long as we can for our kids and our families. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it comes back to behavior. It comes back to modeling, resetting the modeling as far as I'm concerned. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm passionate about.
Yeah. So we'll get into that in a second, but
Mm.
I want to just really sort of tackle both sides of this conversation. So we've talked a lot about what can cause that toxic masculinity and that environment. But, in this side of two things, like, I was bullied as a kid at school and, I know you've had your stories in that space and whatnot, which has helped us to be the men who we are today, and in that space to be that resilient and have that character that needs to be there. But we've also learnt to do, or learning, I should say, not learnt. Definitely, it's a daily thing where we're learning to go better. Learn to do the love, learn to do the vulnerability, learn to do the safe space where it's okay to cry and to be in essence. And I hate to use this term, but I can't think of a better term, to learn how to be real men.
Yeah.
And real men do cry. Real men do show love. Real men do show empathy. Real men do show vulnerability, but they've also got the will and the strength there to protect the family when they need to provide for the family. They can get fierce, they can get righteous, they can get passionate, and they can have the strength that they need there when they need it to be in that stoicism, to be steadfast, to be resilient, but also to be gentle and kind and compassionate. It's the full spectrum. And I believe that when you don't get the full spectrum, you get polar opposite extremes. You get someone who's really, for better words, a dickhead or an asshole, to the other one who's basically had their balls chopped off, and everything in between, right? So it's how do we help our men of today, especially, and our young men of today, to be able to get the full spectrum and have the robust character developing, emotions, and to be able to, and that's it, right? To be able to handle our emotions when we need to, and you know, be able to be real men. What are your thoughts on that, and how can you unpack that a bit further?
So, what defines a real man? Yes, a real man is honest. I
Mm.
look at vulnerability as this, as just being honest. Vulnerability is a bit of a marketing term these days. It's been thrown around
It has.
as a woo woo terminology. I was modeled from my models to look at vulnerability as a man as just being radically honest with
Mhm.
myself and with those around me, irrespectively of feelings, irrespectively of the time of day or the situation. Just be, for the better word, fucking honest. Just be
Yeah.
honest with yourself and others.
Well,
Say
honestly, it's
what you
also
need to say.
integrity, right? It's like your yes,
Yeah,
your yes,
yeah, yeah,
could be a no, and
yeah,
having leadership qualities. Like this whole conversation really is about leadership.
yeah. Vulnerability, if we go back to our primal times, and
Mm.
I've mentioned this on a few other threads and copped a bit of flack because misunderstanding of it.
Right.
To be vulnerable in our caveman times is basically being vulnerable. I go outside my cave not knowing what's around that corner. I'm vulnerable. And if I show vulnerability, I'm going to be someone's lunch,
Mhm.
the dinosaur's lunch, the jaguar's lunch, because I'm vulnerable. Uh, Now, jaguars and dinosaurs don't necessarily exist in suburbia today. However, the threats have evolved.
Right.
That could be that boss could be taking advantage of someone's weakness it could be a fellow man who could
It could be
capitalize
walking
on
down the
another
street,
man's weak. Yeah.
mugged or something like that. Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, it comes to the fact that no, I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to show my soft side to become prey for another man or another predator. I'm just going to be honest in my situations.
Mm,
Um, I could walk around a workplace and I'll just be honest. I'll be straight shooting with people. Um, it doesn't bother me. I will frame it in a way that softens the impact so I don't look like
mm,
a dickhead full of ego or a know-it-all. However, I'll just be honest with
mm.
who I am and my character. And that to me, in my world, is having that self-leadership trait that I'm not gonna I'm not looking like prey. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not looking for a hug.
Yeah,
I'm just saying things how I see it.
yeah.
Whether people like it or not, it's up to them.
But that comes back down to, and this whole conversation comes back down to one thing: learning to love. And
Yeah.
love is not like how the Western world has portrayed it to be, in Hollywood and Cupid and all of that sort of thing. That's that really fluffy, wishy-washy type sort of love. That's not love. That's not what I see. Love is everything that we're talking about here today. It's love for love. It can be fierce. Love can be strong. Love can be soft. It can be empathetic. It can be compassionate. It can be vulnerable. But it's all characteristics of love, this whole conversation. And, you know, I know that you've had your times where you almost tried to kill yourself. I've done the same thing. And we've both come out of that stronger for who we are today. And because of those scenarios, that darkness, if you will, we can now meet other men and look them in the eye and say, I love you, and because we know how to love ourselves. In my time, and that's, we've all got our beliefs. For me, it was the saving thing for me was learning to love myself, love something bigger than me, which I call God, and learning to love my fellow neighbors, in that same way. And when I was in my ego, arrogant, sort of younger phase, it was never about any of that. I didn't love myself. I didn't know how to love anybody because I was actually an atheist at the time. And I didn't know how, and that result is I didn't know how to love my neighbors or love a fellow man or even woman or even my kids. I didn't know how to do that. So for the last 10, 12 years, that's pretty much the student road that I've been on, is just learning how to love. And then you mentioned this term modeling quite a few times, and exactly that's what I've done. Is I've come around other father figures and other men and other characters throughout this last decade to learn how to do what they do in the space of learning how to love in a healthy, really respectful way for me, for my family, and for the greater good. What's that sort of been for you? And have you got any wisdom you want to shine the light on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my saving grace was pretty much going through what I had to go through and remove the layers of the creature comforts from me. I don't know about you, but standing in front of a magistrate, naked, pretty much naked, having all the creature comforts removed
Mm,
from you is an interesting experience to have, where there's no protection, nowhere to hide. The so-called personal development world is forgotten in the moment. I've only got my own wits about me to survive. Uh, I've heard the saying that in times of crisis, I don't rise to the heights of my dreams. I
mm,
rise to the heights of my training. And
mm.
my training
Or yeah,
integrated, yeah, integrated, thinking like a soldier here, integrated is who I am in that moment. Who I was in that moment in front of a judge and a magistrate is I wasn't a skilled man who I thought I was. I had a head full of quotes and phrases from books and personal development and ego-filled speakers. But what did that teach me? It just fed my ego. My ego had to be stripped away in that moment in front of a tough judge in order to be held accountable for my actions, in which I did. Um, and going through the pain and the suffering from the aftermath of that to rebuild my character, for the resilience term to show who I was, which I did. I did rebuild myself, and then I had to go out and seek models.
mm,
Now, model by definition is you don't copy someone to the T. You find elements within that person who you can model. you may not model that whole person, but there's maybe an element in that person who you can take away.
Yeah.
So I've surrounded myself with leaders, and genuine people in my life that I feel that are genuine, that can help me take myself to the next level, regardless if they're speakers, they're entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
that's just
It's
whatever.
it really
Ju-
does bring home that statement that we become like those 5 people that we hang on
Yeah.
most.
Yeah. We are who we associate with.
Yeah, and we
So,
have to choose those people very carefully because they will impact us negatively and positively.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm,
Um, be very, very careful on who you choose.
mm,
They can be your family, they can be your friends, they can be your spouse and your loved ones. So it's be mindful on who you have around you. Be very, very mindful.
yeah. I loved how this whole conversation really just highlights leadership, and I'm not talking about leadership because you've got a rank or a title or something like that. That to me is not leadership. That's just positional leadership. I'm talking about, like leadership of, what we need to be able to raise up the community, to raise up the tribe, to, that rising tides raise all ships type sort of conversations. And you can only do that when you can lead yourself. And you've got to be able to do that in a hard, messy work to be able to be in a position to be able to. And it's not even like leadership, like you don't do it because you have to do it. You do it because it's of service to the community,
Mm.
and through your own raising and character building and the testament to that, it's just that natural leadership starts to come. People start to want to follow you and attract to you because you've got that backbone, for better words, in that space because you've got the character that people are starving for. What are some of
Yeah.
the practical tools that you can help with, whether it be NLP techniques or whether it be mind shift or whether it can be anything around that for our listeners to take away today to help them to really boost up their performance through their character development?
Well, the first thing is look at your environment. Jack Welch has a famous quote, I think it is, "You are the standard that you walk past." So what standards are you setting each day
Mm,
as a young leader? Look around, even in your home. What standards are you putting forth? Is the house a mess? The kids running amok? Uh, your significant other consistently challenging you? What standard is that setting? And then turn the mirror on yourself. Who am I and what am I setting as a standard? And start there because who you are at home is who you are at work. Yeah. The
yeah.
house is a mess. Genuinely, the job's a mess. Or the mask is slowly being taken off.
Mm,
And this is what I see a lot in the leaders in the workplaces that I get around in is I see a lot of leaders with that mask on the verge of falling off because they're doing their best. They're
yeah.
doing their best to hold that act, that
The secrets.
perfect script line.
Yeah.
While at home, they're going through a hell of a lot of stuff. Um, the performance, we call it the performance style leadership. They're performing, not leading. So yeah, have a look at yourself is the very first tactic. Do a self audit.
Just the quickest road to burnout is that performance style leadership. I know from experience.
And burnout is a definition of regret.
Mm,
I'm regretting where I am in life. I'm
mm,
regretting my full potential. I could do better, be better, and have better. Yeah.
yeah.
Because we live in such a life where we flog ourselves stupid doing the do, and then wonder why we get to the have moment. The ladder's up the wrong wall, and then we're looking down, um, wondering how to appreciate what we've built.
Yeah.
And then we're not being who we are in the moment.
I think I could sum up that whole thing with one word, and it's connection.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you got to be connected to yourself to be able to be connected with others. And that again, that's that love, but connection also is respect and
Self-respect.
self-respect, right? Self-respect, and it's not about expecting respect from you. I don't need that because I've got my own respect and I'm connected with myself, and through that, we can respect each other and we can be connected with each other and we can love each other and all that sort of thing. But it comes back down to that self, but not from me, myself, and I protective mode, not from an arrogant, ego-driven mode. It really is about, through that strength and resilience and the character of being connected, by being loving, by being in that space, I can now go do that better and bigger in a more powerful way in society with my friends, with my colleagues, with my loved ones, and everything else in between.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Self-respect is huge. And also self-compassion.
Self-worth.
Mm.
And yeah, that whole conversation, because I know when I used to, in my darkest moments, the story that I was telling myself was I was worthless, I was hopeless, I was useless, I was blah blah blah, and there was no respect or any self worth or any self value in that conversation. It was all the opposite to all of that. But now it's like you can really change your story and change your life, but it starts with, well, actually, I'll ask you, what do you feel like start with? I feel like it starts with having someone to see that worth in you, that I see in you conversation, to help you to model, to be able to bring in that. But where do you feel like that whole conversation starts with when you're so lost and you're so in that dark space? I think this is a really important conversation to have because there are so many people out there. What is the road back to coming back to that self-worth, that self-respect, that self-love? Because we had that as children and we lost that along the way. So what's the road back towards that?
It's being acknowledged and heard for who you are as a person,
Mm,
not your behavior. Your behavior, you can change your behavior anytime, any day. That comes with a decision, an instant decision. Do I want to change? Do I want to grow? Do I want to evolve? And we've come to a society where we judge people by the behavior, not as a character.
mm.
And you could have someone who's had a very successful career, life of say 20, 30 years, and that one instant, everything comes down. And the media, the world, society, they just smear this one individual. Yet this individual, if you look back at their life, they've got accolades, they've got trophies, they've got certificates, they're well respected in the community. So I guess from looking through the lens of that, and I've been a product of that myself. Um,
Same here.
One, maybe two major mistakes in my life. I've had an overall successful 30 years
Mm,
in my life. It's being seen and heard, having that conversation with someone, whoever that someone is, whether
yeah.
it's a loved
We
one,
need
a
those, it
counselor, a
probably needs those
professional.
at least 3 people that we're intimate with.
Yeah.
At least so that they can be our tribe, that, in that inner core circle, we need that. It's really important to be able to have that. And I feel like so many people go through life, myself included, up until a certain point, didn't have that. I didn't feel seen or valued or heard. I could be in a crowd. I could be, I was the Western. So for 97, 98, I was the junior national champion of Western pleasure for Australia. I won all the accolades. I did all the work to get those awards. But up there, standing and getting those awards, you feel empty inside because nobody heard the cry or the hurt or the darkness that was brewing in there. And we really need to have those 3 people, and I feel like if we can have, especially as men, have 3 other really powerful men in our life where we can just go blah in a safe environment where it feels safe and we feel heard and we feel known and we feel trusted and all of that. I'd say that that's what we really, really need. And I feel like, I really do feel like if we can work in this space as a tight knit community, we can become a lot closer as a community. And this whole divide through left and right and black, red and blue and fucking black and purple and whatever else in between will definitely come closer and not further apart.
Mm. So exactly right. So one of the universal fears is I don't belong.
Mm,
Okay. So if we look at the division, the left and right, black and white, whatever you want to stick a label on it, look at the unconscious.
versus them.
Yeah, look at the unconscious vibes of that. They don't belong. They're fearing that they fear that they don't belong.
Mm,
That comes down to not being heard, not being acknowledged, not being respected. So what would it look like if we gave them the space and acknowledged them for who they are? Let them feel heard.
yeah.
Yeah, they can have their rage and rant and so forth. That's an outcome.
Yeah.
What if we just heard them, acknowledged them? I see you for who you are.
That's a powerful question.
What would happen then?
Mm,
Would the blinders come off about this division? I reckon so.
I reckon so too. Because we had space, we held space
Hmm.
for that conversation, and we can get rid of this us versus them, and really like learn some character development around seeking to understand the other person's point of view versus fighting. The outcome of a fight is someone has to win. Whereas a good debate or even an argument is the goal of that is to seek to understand the other person's point of view. This is all character. This is all leadership. This is all that self-development conversation. Mate, we could go down a rabbit hole with
Oh,
this for hours upon hours.
I
Um,
mean, I'm not saying we're not going to have challenging conversations in a society. This is how we grow as a
and have
society
those
and
tough
evolve,
conversations.
is to have those polarizing conversations, but
But
also
in a safe
acknowledging,
space where people are feel respected and heard, right?
yeah,
Seen and
yeah,
known.
exactly right.
Mm,
Exactly right. There are ways to do it in a way to honor growth, honor worth,
mm,
and honor to be able to be seen and felt heard,
yeah.
rather than let's just go destroy cities or run
Yeah.
around with flags and
Well,
carry on.
love him or hate him. I love what Charlie Kirk said. He just got assassinated last week, but I love what he said there. The moment we stop meeting at the table, the moment we stop discord, the only alternative is hate and violence. And we need to, find a space where we can create a conversation where we take the violence, we take the hate, we take the hurt out of the conversation. And I know that this is hard to do. You know, Governments can't do it, UN can't do it, politics really can't do it. It's a very complex, messy conversation. I'm not saying that this is just the band-aid solution or anything like that, but I do believe if we can create environments and spaces where we can do the doubt, where we can do the challenge, where we can do the wrestle together in a respectful manner, we will come closer as a society, not further apart. We will start to lose these us versus them dialogue, and we will start to see that we all bleed the same color and we're all just human at the end of the day. We're all just walking, talking skin bags full of human emotion, trying to deal with that emotion and have some maturity around it and some wisdom around it to be able to help come back to that tribal essence, really.
Yeah, exactly. Come
Mm.
back to community.
Come back to
Operations.
come back to connection. That word again, connection. Whew, this has been a deep conversation, mate. And I feel like we're only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, certainly a rabbit hole there.
Yeah. We need to come back. We need to have a part two, but I also think there'll be a part two, there'll be a part three, there'll be a part four. Go much deeper. But we have run out of time for today. So just to wrap up and to sort of, position you, I think we've done it really well. I think the audience can see your heart and they can see what you're all about, what you're made of. But I'd love for you just to give you, probably next 3 to 5 minutes to share what your vision is for next level. What's your mission? What's your vision? Where do you see your business and, what you're creating going?
So the vision for next level coaching is I have a vision over the next 10 years to impact 1 million leaders, male and female
Come on,
leaders. Yeah.
let's go.
Uh, impact their lives in a way to create united families, to create united communities, and for the greater good. I feel drift is a massive issue we have in Australia. And so the question I get all the time is, what is drift? Drift is a term for those unchecked behaviors, those unchecked compromises that just start the domino effect of behaviors.
Yeah.
So it could be that one compromise of, oh, I won't go to the gym today, or that's okay, I'll just let that bit of excess expense go from the boss's bank account, or from the or that expense is okay out of the family account. We just won't have that, and I
Yeah.
won't tell the missus. It's all those unchecked behaviors that slowly send the invoice at the end of the day, because drift does send its invoice, and the invoice gets paid one way or the other.
Everything has a cost.
Yeah, there is a massive cost to it.
Everything has a cost, though.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
my mission in life is I help forge fractured leaders back into their whole selves. So who you are at work doesn't match who you are at home, and
Mm.
vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah, you help people build their character and develop that. And it's not personal development, it's character development.
No, it's certainly character development. So are you in alignment with your soul?
Mm, I like that.
Integrity to the soul. Yeah.
Yeah,
So over the next 10 years, it's basically changing leaders' lives. And
Mm.
will I meet disconnected men? Yes. Will I meet disconnected women? Yes. It's like a bag of licorice, all sorts in my world. I'm going to meet all different people from all different worlds, and I'm in the puzzle of working out how can I help these leaders help themselves, because we are all leaders. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
what I
are
love
leaders.
about what you do, Craig, is you don't fix people. You don't you haven't even used the word broken, like you disconnected, and you've been very mindful of that, and I recognize that and observe that, because people don't need fixing. They need building. They need development. They need that realignment. You know, those words that you've used.
Hmm.
Totally agree with all of that. And you have a beautiful, calming way of doing that. There must be that donkey story coming back around. That value, right? But I love the way that you make people feel valued. And you have such a gift in that space, mate. And I know that you're only just starting to step into that gift. And this is guys, this is a hero maker. I see it. You know, this is someone who I can see that has found his passion, he's found his purpose, he's found his reason for being in life. And I actually don't see Craig ever retiring from this conversation. This will be something that he does till he's 90. You know, bless him if he gets to that far. But or even 100 or even further, right? You know, technology these days, you just never know. But this is what happens when you go through hell, storm, the fire, and you come out the other side of it. You essentially go through your hero's journey, you know, and you come through that abyss moment. In that abyss, you find your true purpose, your true character, your true space to reason to being. And then you go develop that and you become a student of that. You become obsessed with that. You just want to go develop that. And Craig's just a beautiful example of what that looks like on the other side of that conversation. So thank you, Craig, for this amazing interview. I feel like this has been a really deep conversation, and I've seen here comments. Daryl's definitely been. So, you know, thank you for just giving us space to hold this discussion. And this has just been one of those amazing interviews. So, guys, if you're wanting to subscribe for the Hero Makers season with the Laptop Lifestyle Dad Show, make sure that you head to Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. This will be posted on there as well. Right now, this has been done live in the Hero Makers community. We'll make sure we get it up on those channels very, very quickly. And also, this podcast is brought to you in sponsorship and partnership with the Los Angeles Tribune. As part of the Los Angeles Tribune podcast network. So thank you very much to Mo Rock and Michael Silvers for creating space for us to have a collaborative community where we can all go and support each other as podcasters. Thank you for your time, guys. Stay caffeinated, stay legendary, and bye for now.